First one was great. I sold it. I had great luck and everything. The second one, it was bigger. It was better. It was going to be phenomenal. Going to be. For that, didn't you? Anyway, the reason it wasn't phenomenal, for those of you who've been longtime Coloradans, and I was here for 5 years, 25, and then came back. 1982 is the year of the Brown Ski Mountains. It barely snowed the entire year. I kind of got inspired by all these Latin Americans who were coming and skiing Vail, and I went, I want to go there, and I want someone else to pay for it. So I got into the corporate world, where I knew I wouldn't fit, but I figured, let's spend 5 years there, see how it goes. I'm going to consult to these people eventually, might as well get on the other side of the desk. And that's exactly what I did. I was in a company that sold raw materials for the textile industry around the world, and I ran Latin America, then I took over Asia, then I took over Australia, New Zealand. That was a great run, but I was told I would be a vice president in so many years, and I'd be a blah, 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 and I said, what's the qualifications, a pulse? Why is it 8 years? Well, because we say so. And anyway, needless to say, I was an entrepreneur in an environment that did not respect entrepreneurs. So over the last 20 years, I've been doing consulting 3 different times. I've gotten into startups in a C-level role, once as a co-founder during the dot-com days. We grew that. We grew from 2 to 47 in 18 months. I highly don't recommend it. That's just too fast. But we had a fun run. I sold the dot-com crash, so I was one of the lucky ones. But I love this space. I love the early stage company. They inspire me. You inspire me. I couldn't think. I don't have an engineering bone in my body. I have no idea how to create things. I can see them, and then I can say, can you do this? And then when you do, I'm amazed at it. So thank you for that.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Well, it's a nice talent. So with that, I guess I'll get started. And like I said, interrupt at any time. So I did this before. Very good. So just so you know, Peter Adams, who is the executive director of the Rockies Venture Club, is going to present tonight, and this is his book. He and Nicole Urbania co-authored this book about 4 years ago, and the idea was that there's just so many questions and so many ways of how to get money, and should I get VC money, should I get angel money, where do I get seed money? Highly recommend this book. You probably would have brought copies. It's readily available on Amazon or at any Rockies Venture Club meeting, so highly recommend it if you're going down this path. And not every company, as you'll learn tonight, is a venture capital company. Sometimes it's not the right thing for you. So, right there. Next stop, 500 miles. Venture capital, and where you guys are now, I heard I've got an idea, I've got a prototype, I've got actually a starting production. Venture capital may or may not be for you, but it's, whenever you meet a venture capitalist, talk with them, let them know what you're thinking, and you may need them someday. So get out there in the community, even if it's a year away or 2 years away, because it's a lot better when it's not 500 miles. It's a lot better when you've been talking to somebody for a year or two and they're like, wow, so you had this idea 2 years ago and you're finally there. And then they know you and they have a lot more confidence in what you're doing. So I like what you were saying about getting out there and ideas and software and, being and then also what you said about being just a sponge. So get out there and learn everything. It's the best way. This is not going to be, there we go. So, big question. Is your company a venture capital company? I'm going to step over here because it lights my eye. I was talking with a couple people beforehand, and to be a VC company, I mean, you've got to double your sales every year once you get VC funding. It's fast and it's furious. And if you've ever heard the okay, thank you. If you've ever heard the adage that it's great to be a business owner, and the reason I did this is I want to own my own business. The first 3 years your business owns you. Some of you already know this. You wake up 2 o'clock in the morning, you're like, oh, I gotta get this idea down. But you're up at 6 working, and you work for 16 hours. It's good, it's hard work, you're working for yourself, but you've got to double your business every year. Experienced team, like I said, I talked to a couple of people beforehand, and, don't go it alone. You'll see some further slides about this, but in the early stage, start to surround yourself with people that can eventually become advisors or eventually become team members. Get to know people that you might want to have join the company, because teams they usually invest in. To be a VC company, you got to be highly scalable, and it just means rapid growth. That means being able to expand to new markets quickly. With Roberto, you could probably get into the European market pretty quickly. With the patents that he could help you get in Roger and such. Is it a disruptive technology or product or service? I mean, there's a lot of people that it's the greatest idea, they think it's the greatest, but really, is there a market? And so, who here knows what lean startup is? Show of hands. 1, 2, maybe. 4.5. Lean startup is basically it's many things about it, but it's basically doing a lot of your work up front and staying lean while you're trying to figure things out. The one thing that I draw from lean startup is customer needs. If you've got an idea and you think it's the greatest idea, first off, as he said, before you go public with it, do your provisional patent if it's something that's patentable, product or a service. But get out there and talk to people that you want. I mean, the worst thing is to spend thousands of hours or lots and lots of money, and then find to get to the market, product's not wanted. There's been many times. Let's see, who here is old enough to remember the Edsel? Anybody know what the Edsel is? And you know why it was named the Edsel? The grandson of Henry Ford was Edsel Ford, so it was a product that was doomed from the start. It was the wrong design, it was everything, but they thought it was disruptive. It wasn't. When we talked about patent protected, getting it provisional, as Roger said, I mean, if you go public, actually he's more the expert on that, but you do not want to go public with your idea, because if you do it at the wrong time, you will never be able to cover it internationally. And then the biggest and the most important thing, in fact, I saw a presenter did this up in Boulder. He got up there, and who knows Praful Shah? Anybody know Praful Shah? So Praful's from India. Praful's about this tall. Praful's got about 60 companies he's invested in over the years. Most of them are impact companies that have a positive impact on the world, but also. So he got up at a big event in Boulder honoring impact companies. And before he started, I love this, it was one of the best things. He goes, so before I start today, I just want to make sure everybody's safe. He goes, so as you can see, there's an exit here. You came in that way, there's an exit there. And as you can see, there's an exit over there. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, as an investor, the most important thing to me is exits. And I give him credit for that line. I love it. I'm going to use it because it is the most important thing. And an exit doesn't mean that you leave the business. It means the investor cashes out. A lot of times you do stay with the business. Sometimes you get a workout. Sometimes you do leave. So you can see this matrix. Why raise venture capital? I mean, it gives you access to. First off, you want smart money. You want expertise that smart money brings. So For instance, Mark, with your company, if you could find somebody that was in a manufacturing company that, did worldwide distribution, I can actually think of somebody to introduce you to, another guy named Mark, so remind me of that. He actually worked for a small company, I think they're called Caterpillar. Might have heard of them? Yeah, it's small. So anyway, it helps you find the right board members when you raise venture capital. They'll bring, some of the venture capitalists will bring in their board members. Increases your ability to get connections, credibility, and capital, more capital. And the one thing I've heard this over and over, we're just going to raise one round. Why? Well, that's all we're going to need. And once in a great while, it actually works. But for the most part, don't be naive. Look what's been done out there. Most of the time, you will need to raise additional capital, especially if you're trying to grow big and grow fast. So, these are the 4 types of investors: smart and active. That's, they provide you with connections, they open doors, they get on your board, they're really involved. Smart and passive, they write a check and they disappear and they say, send me a monthly report, send me a quarterly report. They're great, and sometimes they'll step up and help you, and other times, they're just uninvolved. They just like to invest. If you can imagine somebody like Praful with 60 investments, he's not active in all of his investments. He's cognizant of them. Dumb and passive, that's probably much better than dumb and active. And a dumb and active is actually what I would call a toxic investor. It's somebody that they might invest $10,000 or $25,000 at the angel stage, and they want to talk to you every day because it's a lot of money for them, and they're not good. And so you have to be choosy about who you let invest. You agree, Roberto?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
So so that's it on that. There we go. So this is your typical deal timeline for the venture capitalist. This is where you go from being the naive of I'm going to get venture capital to wow, that's reality. So I'll let you guys look at that slide real quick. Anybody read that? So basically, an average deal timeline. Each VC firm receives 1,000 plus deals a year. 99% of them are turned down. And unless you get the deal handed to somebody in there that maybe you met them 2 years ago, as I said before, and they become your buddy, they just, yeah, sure, send it to me. First person that's going to look at it is an analyst, usually somebody in their mid to late 20s, trying to make their name in the finance world. Not always, but sometimes maybe a little older also. And 99% of the deals get turned down. They look at it, they have a checklist, they see that it doesn't fit, you're gone. And that's the other thing, is research the venture capital firm. I've seen people pitch a software product to a guy that invests, to a venture capital firm that invests in medical equipment. Not only are they not going to do anything to help you, they're probably not going to be, and they're not going to open any doors for you if you do it wrong. Now, if we approach them and say, hey, I know you guys are in medical technology, and I know you don't invest in software, but who do you know? Now that's a different conversation. So, about 2 to 6 weeks past the first meeting, and I'll share an experience from our first meeting we had. At .com, I got my co-founder to meet with DFJ. For those of you who have never heard of DFJ, that's Draper, Fisher, Judson. They invested in Hotmail, which you might have heard of. A few other really big companies went really big. So he went into the meeting. I suggested it'd be 2 to 3 of us, and he decided he wanted to go alone. It's just, he was the founder. I came on second. And he made a lot of mistakes, but the biggest one was he actually thought that they had read what he'd sent, that they'd absorbed what he sent, and that they actually cared. And they may have read it, but they wanted to play dumb. And it was a horrible meeting. I mean, he didn't do a good job because he wasn't engaged. He didn't teach them about the company. He didn't show his passion. And needless to say, they did not invest. So once the partners have that, after 6 weeks, 2 to 6 weeks, sometimes it does go fast. You get a term sheet, and then due diligence, another 2 to 6 weeks of due diligence, final due diligence, and legal documentation. Because, people are tying up their money. With venture capital deals, sometimes it's, could be some of the companies go as small as, some of the seed venture capital will be 500,000, but a lot of times it's $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. And so there's a lot of documentation. So each firm at the maximum, closes 8 to 12 deals a year, one a month at the maximum, and not even maybe a half. So it's a long time, there's a lot of deals, and there's a lot of competition. So have people look at your documents, ask anyone and everyone to read your documents. And even stuff as simple as grammar and spelling errors, it's counted against you. Just because you're an engineer doesn't mean you don't know how to use spell check. I've seen some really bad documents submitted. Not picking on engineers. So this right here is how venture capitalists work, how a venture capitalist actually, the firm works. By the way, stop me anytime for questions. Are there any questions at this point? Because I'm going fast.
Is there the amount of involvement the VC has, like, in the operations of the business? Is it typically very little or typically a fair amount? Or?
It depends on the firm and amount of money that they invest, but typically, if you're at the VC stage, they will usually want, at the very minimum, an observer seat on the board or an actual board seat. And if it's a more significant amount, they may even, want to bring in a new CEO. And, there's lots of things that can happen. And one thing, that I always ask, I do some consulting with some smaller companies, still do the international stuff because that's really what pays the bills. But I ask people when I'm, starting to work with them, so when is it you're going to fire yourself? And they kind of look at me like, what? I go, are you comfortable with that thought? You can usually tell by their body language, or when they're throwing me out of the room. Not really. That they haven't considered it. And what I'm saying is, you're not going to be fired. You're going to be elevated. You're going to become the vice chairman or the chairman. But someone's going to come in. You're going to grow that company from 0 to 10 people, 15 people, 20. But to go from 20 to 100, that's a whole different kind of person. And that's a whole different kind of management style. It's really nice when you're 10, 15 people, everybody's all rowing in the same direction. You start getting bigger, there's a lot more challenges, and people who've been there and done that can do it better. We're back to this slide, which is, thank you for the question. So the process of venture capital, what venture capitalists do is they go out, like you guys want to. You guys want to raise money, right? Well, that's what they have to do. They have to go and raise money. And then basically they are, so they're like, so in a way, venture capitalists are like startups. They go out, they raise money, and they've got to deploy that money, usually in 7 to 10 years, and then they've got to return that money, hopefully, with a significant return on investment. Not always the case. There's been software booms and busts, hardware boom and bust, telecom boom and bust. We all know about the internet. When that ended, I have a couple of affectionate names for it. One was the dot bomb, and the other was dot gone.
Yeah.
I really like dot gone because there was a lot that should be gone. There was one point where 7 different VC firms invested in pet food distribution. They invested $50 million each. It's like, it's heavy. You can't ship it over the internet. You can't ship it. It was just the craziest thing. It's kind of when I knew the thing, when the curtain was coming down. But anyway, so they do fundraising, and then it usually could take up to a year, sometimes longer. How are you going to raise a $10 million fund, a $20 million fund, a $50 million fund? So then they start in the investment phase, which can be anywhere from 1 to 3 years. Incubation, anywhere from, depending on how quickly they deploy the money, 1 up to about 9 years. Like I said, 7 to 10 years, they're trying to realize capital gains and get the money with returns back to the investor. So I went through that real quick. Any questions on that, or is that clear? Because I know you guys can read.
So the fund's kind of a closed-in thing, like I raise the money, it's kind of fixed.
Right.
And then I invest in, say, 10 companies, and then hopefully get my returns from some of them.
Right.
And then the fund finishes up.
Fund finishes, and then you've got DFJ two, DFJ three. So you start a new fund. You might start it in year 7 and start raising a new fund. You might say, I don't want to do this anymore. The way VCs get paid is a 2% management fee, so they raise 20 million, 2% is 400,000 and a year. And they also get a carry, and that's just a negotiated small percentage of gains. Of those 10 companies, if they're lucky, one is a home run or a grand slam, 2 or 3 are singles, might have a double, and you probably have 5 strikeouts. Mark, you have a question?
So what's the return that they're looking for on a company that they back? I mean, is it factoring that they do?
There's a chart for that that's coming up, so very good. It really depends on how quick they get in, how quick they get out. But, suffice it to say, they're looking for what's called an internal rate of return of about 60%, but I'll show you that on a 5-year investment. So I'll show you that in a minute.
And is part of that whole thing, are they looking to something that might turn to an IPO or something like that as well?
The market for IPOs ebbs and flows. Sometimes there are hardly any in a year, and back in the .com days, they were almost daily.
Right.
So they're looking for an exit. They're looking for some sort of exit. Is that exit rolling it into another company they already have as part of their portfolio, so a merger? Is it that they're acquired, they can put themselves up, acquired? You see a slide about that, about how to think ahead on that, but you've got to think about your exit. You've got to think about their exit. Yeah, and not those exits. So I think we've covered this one. Is that any other questions? Okay. So there it is, carried interest. I just covered that without even covering it. Oh, so these are Peter's slides, and I've seen them 100 times. I can almost do them on my sleeve, but they are slides, so I forgot that this was there, but I already kind of covered it. So 20% of the net profit of the company sold, and fees are 2%. That's the carry.
I mean, is that universal? Is that negotiable? I mean,
Well, that's not even, first off, you're not paying that for them.
well, yeah, but if you're like a super hot VC, can you charge 3%? If you just hit a grand slam in your last fund, the next time you raise money, do you negotiate that to get a better deal?
I would say everything is up for negotiation.
This is
Yeah, I would say those are standards, and, it really depends. If you're sitting there about to write a $10 million check, and these guys over here don't have much of a track record, or they've had a few successes, these guys over here have had 10, and they charge a little bit more, you make your decision where you want to put your money. So I think it could be negotiable. Oop, there we go. So here's some venture capital groups in Colorado. The one thing that I mentioned about this 10-year cycle, so let's just say we met somebody. I'm trying to think of who up here. All right, so, I don't want to mention my names because there's a couple up here. So basically, they're in existence, but their money's all deployed. They've invested in 10 companies. They still have some money to invest, but the money they're going to invest is going to be in the next round in the companies that they've already invested in. And they're not going to invest in every one of those companies, but they're going to invest in the ones that are most promising. So if you meet somebody who's a VC, it doesn't mean he has money all the time. You've got to qualify them. So a little bit of internet research and you'll figure out how to talk to a VC. Because you want to do your homework. You've got a question there.
Yeah, how do you really, okay, so I think you guys call them zombie funds, right? I've heard that term thrown around. They don't have any more money to put out to a new entrepreneur. How does the new entrepreneur know that? You don't have access to the numbers.
You basically say, Tom, I understand you work at, I don't know if there's a Tom at Appian, but I'm just going to use that.
Sure.
Tom, I understand you work at Appian, and, where are you guys in your cycle? They're going to tell you right off, hey, we have deployed, we're in the 7th year of our cycle, we're getting into the harvesting phase, we look like we're going to raise money in the next few years. So, you know your early stage, keep in touch, but, let's just stay in touch, because the other thing is, they know people, and so you make an impression on an investor, even if they don't have money, someone will go to bat for you. They're like, whoa, I met this guy Matt, and Matt has this killer idea. And when one VC opens the door to another VC, that's as good as gold.
So then you got them competing.
Huh?
Maybe you got them competing over you, right?
A lot of some, for the best deals, there is some competition, but for the most part, there's collaboration. You'll see sometimes when you look at some of the different online sites where they announce deals and everything, that 5 venture funds went into it. 2 million here, 3 million there, 5 million there. Especially as you get into Series B, C, Series A, Series B, C, etc. And depending, there'll be a lot of collaboration. So there is some competition. Who remembers Netscape?
Yes.
So how many no's did Netscape get before Mark Andreessen said yes? Huh?
So there's a hell of a lot.
Over 200. What are you, crazy? Why would people, a browser? What's a browser? I mean, come on. Like people gonna search for stuff? I mean, just go to the library. It's all there. In fact, it still is. In fact, I still love libraries.
Sure.
But anyway, so those are some of the firms in Colorado. Yes, they might be zombie funds, or they might be in the down cycle, but, again, they know people, so don't hesitate to get to know them, especially long before you need them. I think I've said that twice now, we'll probably hear it 3 more times. So,
Do most of these guys, are they like certain sectors, like a certain type of business?
Most of that-
certain stage and all that?
yeah, the stage might be not, they may not post a lot of that and everything, but you can find out on their websites what they invest in.
Okay.
I mean, that's not hard. Let me see.
Foundry, isn't that mostly?
Foundry's pretty much technology.
They have themes, right? They call it thematic investing. Foundry has themes and they really stick to their themes.
Yeah, I guess so. And then, let's see, who else do I know really well? I'm not sure, but, some of them cross over, but, in the end, they're all looking for a good deal. They're all looking for something that they think that they can bank, because there's, as the next slide says, what are the first 3 important things? What did I say earlier about not going it alone? David Cohen, who's part of Foundry, said this at the Rockies, at the Angel Capital Summit a couple of years ago. And he said, the reason I say team is because you can take an A team and you can give them a C or a B- company. You can give them an idea that's been kicking around and nobody's been able to do anything with it. And these guys will pivot, these guys will figure it out, and they'll take it. Do you give an A product, an A service, something to a C team, or a B- team, or a go-it-alone guy who really doesn't have the network to help him think it through and how to turn this, this A opportunity into something big? So team is the most important things. And you'll hear some other people arrange the order. Go ahead.
How do you create a team when the idea usually is created by one person who wants to keep it their own? Well, protect it, I guess, before it can get to whatever that level is to say, hey, I want people on board. I didn't know how to really answer my question besides the basics. How do you create it?
Well, first off, I want to clarify, because you said you want to keep it your own. What do you mean by that?
Well, I was just going to say, well, with that, I think it's a great idea, but I might run into you and you know how to go and realize, hey, this guy knows nothing, and I'm just going to run with it.
Well, here's the thing. If your idea, if in a conversation with Roberto, which Roberto would never do that because he's an attorney and he'd respect the property, but if your idea is so easily replicable, then, you're selling blue popsicles rather than orange popsicles. Because if it's not that different, it's not that big a deal. If it's protectable, you protect it. How many patents does Coke have on their, the answer, don't say. How many patents does Coke have on their formula? Who knows?
I don't think any, really.
It's very good. Yeah. It's a trick question. It's a trade secret. They never patented it because that way 4 people know it, it's locked in a vault, and when one of those people dies, another person is invited in, so there's always 4 people that know it. So, but back to your question about how do you build a team? I'll give you my personal experience. 1998, joined the .com. We were one of the early email marketing companies, not spammers. Email marketing, using email as a tool. Joined the Responsible Council for Email because I wanted to surround myself with people brighter than me from the direct marketing space, because I wasn't a direct marketer. And then, once I drank the Kool-Aid, because I was the co-founder, I was the second person on board and then got co-founder, we had no money. And we shared an office with somebody who had some money. They gave us a space enough for 4. In 2 months, because I got passionate about the idea, I recruited 8 people. Now, Matt, if I was interviewing you, I'm sorry I'm picking on you, Matt, but you're right in my line of sight. So if I was interviewing you, this is how the interview would start. Oh, Matt, Sue said you should come in and talk to me today, right?
Sure.
Did she tell you anything about this? She didn't, did she? She was vague, and I told her to be vague. So listen, I'm gonna start real quick and figure out if we just need to spend like 5 minutes or a little longer. You're gonna come to work every day, you're gonna work 12 to 14 hours. We work 7 days a week, so you don't have to worry about weekends. You don't need to think about, you don't need to think about salary or benefits, we have none. You're gonna get poor every day, you're gonna buy your own lunch, and when you get funded, you're gonna get some stock and a salary that should be adjusted up for the fact that you work for nothing. Do you want to continue talking? Well, about half of the people just said, Dave, I've liked you for a long time, and thanks, but no, we're done. 8 people joined after that, and within 2 months, so that was pretty convincing. We got $7 million in investment, and remember I said earlier about when would you fire yourself? We would have gotten $12 million in Series B and probably moved towards an IPO, or at least weathered the .com, but my founder would not step down. As the company grew, he thought it was him. And I'm not saying it was only me. I built a team around us that was very smart. This guy was one of the most intelligent people I'd met, but he was also one of the most arrogant. And he led to the downfall of the company because the VC said, if he steps up to vice chair, he's not going to be chairman, he steps up to vice chair and steps away from the day-to-day, we will give you $12 million. And he said no. And 6 weeks later, what was that I said before? .gone? I sold my shares 3 weeks before that. I wanted to buy, I said, you guys should just buy them back from me. Because I couldn't, I saw the writing on the wall. So, anyway, it means we're a big growing market. Working with one company right now. We all know, we've all walked by a car where there's a dog in it. It's summertime, windows are closed, and you're not happy. And in fact, in Boulder, if that's in Boulder, the window's broken. I don't even think about it. Within seconds, the window's broken. I know a guy that was driving back from the mountains. He and his dad had just climbed a 14er with his Golden, and basically he wanted to stop and have a beer and lunch. And he kept running back and forth to the car because it was 75, 80 degrees, which means the car's going to get 100, 110 pretty quickly, even if you leave the windows open that much, because you don't want to let somebody, maybe break in. So he's running back and forth, and he goes, I got to create something that keeps the car interior cool. That's what he's done right now, and now he's very likely going to get an endorsement from the AKC, American Kennel Club, and that is worth its weight in gold. It's also worked with the military and the police with dogs, trying to get them to understand. So a big growing market. There's a lot of people who travel with their dogs and love their dogs. In fact, it's a $90 billion market the next 5 years, going from 60 billion. And that's a great idea, because I would say in this room we probably have 100 ideas between us or more. A lot of ideas. My sister says, and my sister's about 5 years younger than me, she said, when I was 9, I said, these skates, why do we make these skates like cars? 4 wheels, that's stupid. The wheels should be all 9 years old. I said, well, why didn't you patent it? Because I was 9. So, this is distribution returns by venture investment. You guys can read that, but basically what it is what they're looking for based on timing. So, you know, if it's in the 3 years or 1x, or 3 years, 1 to 5x, as it gets longer, they're looking for a lot more. And so, this one says average IRR 27%, average holding period. This is based on an old slide from 2007. And if this was my deck, I might remove this slide. But anyway, to give you an idea, I mean, it varies. The IRR varies. I said before, 60%, as you'll see on this chart that's coming up. Oops. So this is just a long list. You can't read that, and but basically, it's a long list of companies that are less than 10x return. I mean, most are, very low returning. Let's see, sure, yeah, that bottom line is 5, second line is 10. So what, 6 of them were above 10x? No, that's not that many out of probably 70 that are listed there.
Are some of those companies well-known companies, but it just took a long time to get off the ground? That was.
I mean, some of these companies that are now, household names, Twitter. Twitter's been, it's either been 7 or 10 years. I mean, Twitter's been around a long time, So as they say, it's a 10-year overnight success. And it's been pretty successful the last few years, although they still haven't made money. Amazon still hasn't made money, but, they spent a lot and they're growing and they've got marketing mind share. But, so that's a blank slide that took. Very good. Angel, so before VCs, there's angels. That's where you guys will look first. The Rockies Venture Club, where I'm a board member and Peter Adams is the executive director. You guys should become active members of the community. When I say active members, let's picture this. If you sign up to be part of the community, become a member, and you show up, you go to the meetings, you volunteer, how likely is it you're going to bump into Jim, who's an investor in medical technology, or Mike, who's an investor in software, and pretty soon these guys are, hey, Steve, Mike, Jeff, pretty soon, well, so what do you do? Oh, well, I'm working on a project. When it's ready, I'll talk to you. And when you're eventually ready, these guys are all willing to open their Rolodexes and maybe make some introductions for them. So predominantly internet, healthcare, electronics. Then the rest is smaller amounts. So you think about this when you're looking at so you get heavy equipment. Would you call it heavy equipment or light equipment? I guess, right? So
material handling is.
Yeah, materials handling. So you can look at where materials handling is about 6%. That's still not a bad percentage. It's not as big as internet, but it's not what you invented. Still not bad, but you look at the little one there, which is what's that? 3.8%. Yeah. Anyway, you can see there's some consistency there. The top 3 stayed in mobile telecom, healthcare, and internet back 2011, 2012. But look at the trends and see where the money's going. I mean, right now, does everybody know what IoT is?
Internet of Things.
Internet of Things. And Internet of Things is just basically, it's something that guy came up with one day and said, I want to call it Internet of Things, and then coined the term. And it's connecting all your devices. It's like Roger sitting here going, why did I set the temperature at home at 45 this morning? God, I'm going to be home in an hour. And he just gets in his iPhone and gets the temperature up. So it's connecting all your devices and the whole smart home concept, which has been growing slowly for the last 20 years. I went to a smart home convention in '97, and it wasn't a very smart home, but it was starting. I'll pause again. Any questions? All right.
Was that convention in '97 where they had the different pieces plugged into the sockets and used the electrical wiring of the house to communicate between all the things?
I believe so. I have to go back, but yeah, it was pretty rudimentary.
Yeah.
It was, but that's what they could do right then. It's a design. So this is your, this is your life cycle. I mean, you guys are, some of you guys are at the discovery and idea stage, pre-seed funding. Some of you are proof of concept. But, it is a process, and it's not an easy process, but as you can see, each one corresponds to different groups. So you've got, founder, and then shortly after, friends and family. And this is a discussion I've had so many times with inventors, and it's like, oh, but I don't want to ask my friends and family because, what if it fails? And it's like, no. If you're coming to them with a feeling that it might fail, you're not going to convey this your investment, so maybe you don't believe in it enough to do that. Why don't you flip around your thinking and go, what if they come to you in 5 years, in 7 years, when you've been wildly successful? And they go, I can't remember your, oh, that's right, your name's, oh, okay. So once they say, oh, why didn't you ask me for 25? I could have given you $25,000 5 years ago. That would be worth $250,000 now, or $500,000. Why didn't you ask me? Well, I was afraid to ask you. It's hard to ask friends and family for money. If they have it, ask it. Because there's two things they can say. Well, there's a lot of things they can say, but mostly they'll say yes or no. So anyway, but and the other thing is, I don't think I answered your question back there, though, about the team. Did I really? I don't think I really answered. I told you how I built the team. You've got to surround yourself with people who become passionate about it. If you're passionate about it, and you can get that infectious passion to them, then you have something. And also, if you could, I've seen times where I've seen a company, I knew that the founder was not really going to be a CEO, and you don't even want to be CEO. You're a visionary. You don't want to be a CEO even from the start. But I know somebody that will become your CEO, and they're like, oh, my product, my company, my baby. And I'm like, oh, and by the way, he's going to invest. He'll pay you to come here and work for you. And you're like, he's like, what? Yeah, he'll throw in $50K and he'll come working for nothing. What's that sound like? It's rare. And you got to find the right person, and that's where networking with people like myself, networking at Rockies Venture Club, that's where you find those kind of people. And they are very rare. It's in a rare case. So I don't need to read this to you. Everybody's read it about 6 times, I think. Any questions on it? Because that's where you look at it. I know the stuff inside and out, but I just want to see if you guys have any specific questions or any of the terms of confusion or something like that.
Yeah, when you, with the venture funds, I saw the life cycle, and that's a relatively long-term hedge portfolio with, to minimize risk, et cetera. With the Angels Group coming before the venture funds, is that groups of people, or is that more one person with a lot quicker expectations of return? What are their expectations typically versus the venture capital timeline?
So,
A shorter cycle, or?
Well, it comes down to the education of the investor. Okay, so there are a lot of angel investors who don't know what they're doing, and they may invest passion only. They might, I like this guy, I'm going to invest in him. I know this 25,000 is probably gone, this 50,000 is gone. I hope I get a return, but they're betting on you. They're betting on you. The one thing you should always ask an investor is, so what does this look like for you? And they're like, hey man, this is 25,000, and I've only got X. Well, wait a minute, and you're an accredited investor. And then they'll go, well, what's that? And if they're not an accredited investor, if they don't have $1 million in net worth beyond, or if they don't have $250,000 in income, they might be risking more than they should. Plus, there's all sorts of rules around that related to the SEC, so getting deep in that, but basically their time frame can be, sometimes if you don't ask them, they're naive and they think they get their money back 10x in a year or two, and it's very unrealistic. It happens, but usually it is, could be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. Typical cycle is 5, early exits 3, and 5 to 7, but in all of that, there's a lot of companies that never make it. Go ahead, Gary.
How in the early stages, when a company's really small, it's probably just about impossible to set a valuation, how do you get money from angels? What, can you do? You say, okay, they're gonna give you $25,000 for 2%, and that's just a complete guess?
Well, 25%, 2% for 25,000 is actually, you've just told me your company's worth 1.25 million.
Well, but it's a complete guess. You've only been working on the idea for a year. There's no way, you don't even have a product out there yet. You don't have customer feedback, but you need $50,000 to move ahead. So how do you work that deal then?
So there are over 300 methods to value your company. And probably 10 or 12 of them are applicable to early stage or pre-revenue companies. You either seek an outside valuation, and those can get costly, or you learn how to do an evaluation. Rocky Venture Club, I'm not trying to advertise, but we do have a course in that. And it's out there. I mean, I'm going to go through a couple of the methods actually briefly tonight, but the average early stage company, some of which are pre-revenue, not all, in Silicon Valley, is valuing itself right now about $4.5 million. The average Colorado company, again, early stage, sometimes pre-revenue, sometimes a little bit of revenue under their belt, $2.5 million. And why is that? Well, they built a team. There's 4 people, there's 5 people. This one that I mentioned with the pet technology, he's got 12 people working for nothing right now. Not all full-time, but he's surrounded himself with people that are willing to work for him because they're passionate about what his mission is. So it's building a team, selling the idea, convincing people, and then using these methods to value a company. Sometimes it's based on future revenue, sometimes it's based, there's a number of methods.
Kind of touching off on that question, I mean, are you guys seeing an increase in the convertible debt instruments or the convertible notes, these things that we kind of kick the can down the road with the valuation? Is that becoming more and more popular?
So thanks for that, because you don't kick the can down the road. So convertible note, you've got to have a cap on it, and when you state a cap on it, you're basically saying it'll be valued at this, or no more than this, and maybe less, but you're basically putting a valuation on it. So you're not really kicking the can, but your question was about, have I seen more convertible notes or less? So in Colorado, the flavor of investors right now and over the last 2 years has been for equity, even though there have been a number of convertible note deals. And in California, especially Silicon Valley and LA, which they call Silicon Beach. They actually love convertible notes. And they also love a thing called safes, which is, I can't even think of it, something for future equity. And it's a Silicon Valley thing, it comes out of Y Combinator, and nobody in Colorado likes it, so don't go with the safe. Well, research it, and if you can make a case for it, because if you can make a case for it, you can convince somebody, then convertible note's fine, equity's fine.
Are caps mandatory in what you've seen on the convertible notes?
No, they're not mandatory,
You can get one without a cap.
unless you don't want to get money.
Fair point.
Sorry, I just love to be sarcastic.
Everything's
No,
negotiable.
I mean, if you don't have a cap, why would somebody, again, somebody's going to think, you're trying to pull something on them. Why wouldn't you have a cap? You're also going to give them a discount, so they're going to get a kicker for investing in you. So, anyway, that's that. So the difference between angels and VCs, size of the deal. Usually with angels, I've seen angel deals sometimes, I've seen the smallest 300,000, I've seen them up to $1.5 million. I can tell you one thing, it's actually harder to raise 300,000 or 500,000 than it is to raise 750 or $1 million. And the reason is there's a lot of work that goes into process of raising money. So if you can figure out a way to, actually, if all you need is 300,000, then go out and raise it. It's just going to be a different kind of raise. You're going to look for 12 people to throw in 25,000. So angel deals, maybe up to $1.5 million, sometimes a little bigger. But VC deals, sometimes, there's a few specialty VCs out there that do seed. They just go after like 20, 30, 40, 50 companies, throw in $500,000 in each one. But most of them are $1 million, $2 million, up to $5 and $10 million. And sometimes then they syndicate. So if you're looking for a Series C and you're looking for $25 million, that's going to come from probably 5 VCs or 7 VCs. So that's what I was just talking about, stage of investment. It's optional. Yeah. So stage of investment, that's what I was talking. So everybody understands seed, Series A, Series B, Series C. You understand the dynamic there. Usually it gets bigger, it's longer term, and you're trying to grow big and fast.
How diluted do you get by the time it's Series C, if you're the founder?
If you're smart, you manage it well. I've seen people, even recently, in their first round, attempting to give away 33%. And they're not getting good advice, in my opinion. Rocky's Venture looks at a company, if you're thinking of giving more than 20%, 18 is okay, 20 is maximum. Over 20, why are you giving away so much? It's costly, it's the most expensive. You give away your company. But as, there's charts on how that works. It really varies by company, but, the old adage is, look at Microsoft. He gave up a lot, made a lot of Microsoft millionaires, and still kept, over 50% of the company. So it's getting the right advice, finding the right attorneys, finding the right accountants, CPAs, consultants when they're useful. Although I've been told by one friend, he's now retired. When he was 45, he came out of engineering, he came out of the old tape drive companies and Maxell and all that. And he goes, I didn't want to be a consultant. He goes, I wanted to differentiate myself. So he goes, yeah, I just put on my card that I'm a resultant. He goes, because, I don't know, the whole idea of having a con in my title. And I went, I don't like that, that's not nice. But anyway. So amount of involvement, we talked.
I'm sorry, that 18%, is that a fair rule of thumb for each round that you can expect to be giving up?
First off, 18%, and, is it fair? What's fair? If you can get away with only giving, I saw somebody close a deal recently, they gave away, these guys are both 24 years old, and they gave away 12% in their first round, and they were valuing themselves at $5 million. And they're trying to cure the Spotify problem and the Pandora problem. Those companies don't make money, and they know how to fix it. At least they convince people they do. So they give away 12%. So there's no standard. Remember, this is a negotiation.
Yeah, if you set yourself up in your first round, let's say you get 20% in your seed round, they're going to look at that when you go to your Series A, right? And then is it going to be presumed to be about the same? Do you guys try to keep that consistent?
It really comes down to numbers. It's not about consistency. It's about, let's just say, so you have nothing, you get $1 million, and with that $1 million, it lasts 15 months. You grow the company from 2.5 to, let's just say 5, let's say 7 million. So, you really stretch that money. And you've built product, you've sold, you've built your team, you've told you guys in your team, look, yeah, you're worth $170,000, but I'm going to pay you $60,000, and you're going to get a lot in stock because, we're in this together, we're all going to cash out well, and whatever. So basically, it's 2 million plus a 7, so it's 22 over, anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it depends on where you're at, I guess.
Yeah, and if you're at 7 million, you only need 1, then you're gonna give away 14%, or, just because of actually 12.5. 12.5 on 107. So the amount of involvement, that was the whole thing of smart money, dumb money, active versus passive, and the amount of due diligence. I mean, Angels, in the .com days, people did actually write checks at meetings. It was crazy. I mean, we're like, wow, that's a cool drawing. You're gonna do that? Yeah, and they write checks. It was crazy. It was insanity, actually. I just, that doesn't exist anymore. But Angels will do less due diligence than VCs will do. Angels will do anywhere from 0 to 40 hours, and then VCs will do, you know, a couple of 100 hours, because they're really, if they're, and they're not always going to invest. If they do their due diligence, you'll see a couple more slides we come up about some things about due diligence. They might say no. Go ahead.
What's the scope of due diligence?
They're going to analyze everything and anything they can find out about you, any member of your team, any skeleton in your closet. They're going to, I mean, they're going to dig, and they're going to see, is this person a good risk? Have they been upfront with me? So it was two that I know of that were real obvious. This one company, they came up and they started presenting, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. And the CMO presented, you know, because she was just really good at being in front of a room. And the founder CEO just kind of stayed back and, you know, answered questions. And so this went on, and, you know, they impressed some people, and they got into the due diligence, and it was about a month in, and one of the VCs goes, because they were actually at a VC stage, goes, wait a minute, you guys are married? Yeah, we've been married for 4 years. What? We never said that. Well, you never asked. Well, that is, you know, that's like you didn't disclose something that's pretty, you know, because you said right up front, hey, we've been married, but, you know, this is her experience. It was glaring. And then there was another one. These guys came out of nowhere, and they came into Rockies Venture Club, and this was a company that, on the surface, it looked like, wow, this thing is going to go, and it's going to go big. And so, you know, as I said, Angels don't do that much due diligence, although Rockies Venture Club is trying to change that. They actually have a very good system that they built, and they're starting to move to other angel clubs throughout the country. So they discovered that one of the founders of the company had, less than 3 years before that, and there was no disclosure of this, gone bankrupt in New Zealand. And he was up for tax fraud. And so what do you do when you're up for tax fraud in New Zealand? You leave. You go to the States. And you start your company because nobody knows. Because there's no internet out there. Oh wait, yes there is. So somebody just, you know, someday they, you know how they say people don't go beyond, you Google something, how many here go beyond the 3rd page? How many here? You do? You do? Most people, you know, I'd say 90% do not go beyond the 3rd page. And I think they found it, like, you know, they Googled this guy, and they just started digging, and then they saw something, and they, you know, Googled a little bit more, and there it was, so-and-so bankrupt, you know. Needless to say, they didn't get funded. So this is a chart showing the evolution of venture capital. Started Greylock, and Charles Rivers out of Boston. Sutter Hill's out of Northern California. Greylock, I think, is also out of New York. And it's the evolution of how things have gone over the years. So first it was, you know, just people going, I'm investing in deals, and then it became about brands, and then it became about, you know, obviously different things, merging and international. There's some other things missing in there. I mean, the software, boom and bust and such. But these are the methodologies. I mean, now it's super angels and micro VCs, and over the last 7-8 years, accelerators, and then platforms. Roger, I need to take a break. Can we give it a 5-minute break right now?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Break?
Please enjoy the food. The restrooms are through the exit.
Yep.
Come back in about 10 minutes.
All right, so you gonna shut that off and let me... Thank you, everyone.